Call this meeting of New Iberia City Council to order. We have the prayer and the pledge led by Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Our Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, please look over our children, our senior citizens, and our community from all harm. Give them all the strength and knowledge to keep them safe in our community. With the guidance of all this and through you, all things can happen. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Robin?
Present.
Ms. Gerard?
Yeah.
Mr. Sweer? Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Merrill?
Here.
Mr. Lewis? He's not present. And Mr. Begno?
Here.
They have a quorum.
Mr. Lewis asked me to announce that he had a heart procedure. He would be out for 2 weeks, and he will not be available, so he asked me to have his constituents contact Mr. Doyle in the event that they have any requests or concerns. So if you have any issues, you may want to contact Mr. Doyle, and of course you can also call City Hall. Okay. No, we're not giving the number out on the air. Okay. The first agenda item is public comment, and I'd like to ask everyone to please put any devices you may have on silent. And public comment is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any agenda item. There's no discussion. It is your opportunity to express your opinion or concerns concerning an agenda item. But, Ms. Roban, did we have any cards?
No, ma'am.
No cards. The next agenda item is acceptance of the minutes of the July 7th, 2015 meeting as published on Thursday, July 16th, 2015.
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Merrill,
Second.
second by Mr. Begno. Is there any discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion carries. The next agenda item is a proclamation, and Mr. Begno had asked us to put this on the agenda, and I'll read it. It's Americans with Disability Act proclamation. On July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed into law the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, to ensure the civil rights of people with disabilities. This legislation established a clear and comprehensive national mandate for the elimination of discrimination against individuals with disabilities. On July 26, 2015, we will celebrate the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA has expanded opportunities for Americans with disabilities by reducing barriers and changing perceptions and increasing full participation in community life. However, the full promise of the ADA will only be reached if we remain committed to continue our efforts to fully implement the ADA. On the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, I, Hilda Dag Curry, Mayor of the City of New Iberia, celebrate and recognize the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality and inclusion and recommitting our efforts to reach full ADA compliance. The next agenda item is a presentation to the council by Mr. Prescott Marshall, the Director of Homeland Security, and 9/11.
Yes, ma'am. In April, this council approved or passed a resolution adopting the Iberia Parish Hazard Mitigation Plan. I recommended that you do so, and the reason is that by adopting the hazard mitigation plan, the city of New Iberia becomes eligible for post-disaster hazard mitigation funding, which is funding FEMA makes available to mitigate hazards after a storm like a hurricane, and a disaster like a hurricane. I was premature. I learned very recently that FEMA, in order for them to finally approve the plan for all of the parish and all the municipalities must approve it after FEMA has approved our plan, which they did about 2 weeks ago. So my request and my recommendation to all of you is that the city of New Iberia pass a resolution adopting the Iberia Parish Hazard Mitigation Plan with today's date. And then I can submit it along with the rest of our package, and FEMA will recognize that the city of New Iberia has adopted the hazard mitigation plan.
Okay.
Subject to your
Do-
questions, that's all I have.
Do we need that in the form of a motion, or?
It's not on the agenda today, so someone's gonna have to move to expand the agenda, and then we can place a resolution of that effect on it.
Basically, all we wanna do is change the date, effective today, instead of
Right.
2 weeks.
So, a
I'm-
resolution to accept the plan
I'll make
effective
a
today.
motion.
Okay, a motion to expand the agenda.
Second.
A second, motion by Mr. Doyle, a second by Mr. Bagno to expand the agenda. Is there any objection to expanding the agenda? No objection, now we need the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry?
We don't have to vote on
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't, no, there was no objection.
No objection,
I said no
okay.
objection.
Uh,
Okay, and
I'll
then,
make a motion that we change the wording of the date on the original document that we approved to today's date.
okay, motion, by
Second.
Mr. Bagno to change the date to today's date on the motion that we already submitted to approve, the
Resolution.
Iberia Parish Hazard Mitigation Plan.
And second.
A second by, Mr. Merrill. I'll let you vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. We appreciate you coming again. Thank you. The next agenda item, I just need to read, there's no action that has to be taken tonight. It's a notice of public meeting. Notice is hereby given that at its meeting to be held on Tuesday, September the 1st, 2015, at 5:30 PM at the City Hall Council Chambers, 457 East Main Street, New Iberia, Louisiana. The mayor and the city council of the City of New Iberia, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in the City of New Iberia to authorize the levy of a sales and use tax therein. And I just had to read, the announcement that we plan to have it on the agenda on September the 1st. The next agenda item is a resolution. Madam Clerk?
Resolution awarding bid to Covington Sales and Service Incorporated for the purchase of a street sweeper for the city of New Iberia.
Do we have a motion? A motion by Ms. Jarrett,
Second.
a second by Mr. Merrill. Is there any discussion? Mr. Doyle?
I know we spoke about it and about the monies, where it was coming from. Can Kim, please let us know?
There was a portion that, the budget adjustment was adopted a couple of months ago, and a portion of it was taken out of the workers' comp expense that was previously budgeted and that we had received in the form of a dividend from LWCC, and then the remainder of that came from, gas and lube.
Oh.
You need the exact amounts, 'cause I
No,
don't
but I
know.
remember you said when we got that check from, Swing, I forgot what it was.
LWCC.
Yeah.
And you, broke it down to
Correct.
each department.
Correct.
And, so probably most of that came from that check?
Correct.
And the gas and lube was just a budget item we had for repairs or?
Well, the gas and lube is for the purchase of gas.
Right.
For the city vehicles and the city equipment for the public works function. And then with the decrease in gas prices, there's been some savings
Oh,
there.
okay, good,
So,
thank you.
all right.
Anyone else? I'd ask
Mayor,
you
we've
to-
been talking about this is a used one that we're.
No, it's a new one,
It's a
and,
new one.
and I'm glad you asked, because I had the Daily Iberian phone me and said, well, I thought that was one of the items that y'all wanted to purchase, and we do need a large street sweeper, but this is a smaller
Smaller
one. It's not as large as what we actually,
Normally
it's gonna be
use.
functional, and it will help us out for the time being, but we need, it's not gonna be as large as the street sweepers we have now, it's a smaller one.
Do you think it's gonna be enough, strong enough to carry the city of New Iberia?
Yeah, we need it for right
Like
now,
you're saying,
we
no, I'm
definitely
saying
do.
The machine is a smaller one, but what I'm asking is, will it be able to carry, do the job of the
It'll be able to
city?
do the job, and it's gonna be a lot better than what we have now, because the ones we have now are always broken. So we'll be able to, it will be sufficient for now. Okay, I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item, Madam Clerk, a resolution.
Resolution authorizing Girl Scout Troop 2192, Alyssa Bertrand and Carmen Gonsalves to install a timeline of the city of New Iberia in the Steamboat Warehouse.
Move.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bagno, second by Mr. Rack. Is there any discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion carries, and I think Carmen's here this evening. Congratulations and thank you. Y'all can get started now. I know, they had asked when they
They've-
could get started.
They've done a good job.
Thank
of
you very
raising
much. Y'all
money.
done a great job. Thank you. The next agenda item, Madam Clerk, agenda item 6C.
Resolution of the city of New Iberia declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing sale.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
A motion by, I don't know who said it here, and Dan second, somebody. Mr. Bagno and second by Mr. Doyle. Is there any discussion? Mr. Doyle?
Mayor, is there any dollars that we recoup from this, or is just we getting rid of
We
equipment?
do, we do. The, we're gonna sell on Gov Deals, the first portion, all of this first portion. The only thing we're not gonna try and sell is all of the old fire equipment from the fire department because it's outdated and no one would want it. So that's gonna be surplus and disposed of. The rest of the items, we advertise and we do get income from them.
That's the
And it'll just be going back into Public Works?
They'll
goes-
go back into whichever department
They
they
came from?
came from,
They
yes.
gonna be selling them or bidding on?
We bid it online, it's all online.
Online.
Who-
It's
what-
online.
What's the bid
When,
go through?
when is it gonna be?
Gov Deals.
Gov Deals.
Yeah, and, I wanna thank, Ms. Sandra Upton and all the department heads because they've been working on this. We're trying to clean everything out in the next year and a half before we leave the city. You know, every department cleaned, we're cleaning files, we're cleaning equipment and just trying to get everything in real good shape for the next administration. So, plus, we do get some revenue from it, so.
So they, what they have to, what number, you know, they put a bid on you?
It's all online, isn't it,
online.
Sandra? It's
Gov
all
Deals.
online on the computer.
Gov.
That's what I said.
Gov,
Gov.
Gov Deals,
Doug deal?
Gov,
Gov.
Gov.
Gov Deals.
GOV.
Anyone else? Mr. Bagno?
I'm gonna miss the boot. What happens to
No,
the stuff
somebody
that we
asked
can't,
me.
that won't be bought or sold? We just discard it? When can you discard it?
We discard it,
Scrap it.
scrap it,
Scrap it.
yeah.
You have to go
And
through the
if we can,
process. Once
if
we've
we
gone through the
can,
process.
if there is anything that we can scrap, we will scrap it metal,
Right.
but otherwise we just discard
Like
it.
the fire equipment, I
if we
mean,
can't
nobody's
sell
gonna,
it.
that's just, we're just
We're gonna
scrapping it.
scrap that.
But give you, you have some more storage space. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is another resolution, Madam Clerk, Resolution 16.
Resolution granting the authority to the mayor to sign and appoint an administrative consultant and engineer for fiscal year 2016 through 2017, Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Program.
Okay, y'all want to do a motion a second, and I'll explain to you. Mr. Doyle and Mr. Bagno. Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mr. Bagno. Richard Mandel did write for the grant through LCDBG. Part of the grant is for him to be the administrator. That's who the consultant is Richard Mandel. And the other part is, for the engineers, for the projects, for the wastewater projects.
Mayor, so this, we only talk about community development block grants.
That's it. It's just community
That's
development
it.
block.
So we could have someone else applying for other grants
Right.
rather than Mrs. Mendel. If we had some other grants coming.
Right,
Okay.
yes, this is the community
Okay.
development block grant, that's all.
What you mean by community?
That's the,
Just for the
that's the
city?
same grants that we've been applying for wastewater, Mr. Rack.
Is it something you're applying for wastewater?
Yes, for wastewater. It's the engineering fees, for the engineering fees.
They do a lot of that community development block grant.
Our consent decree's gonna be over
Where's
after
it
this
gonna
year,
be
man.
high?
We hope so, but we're not sure.
The
It will
man
probably
go-
be another year before we hear anything.
The man gonna work out of the sewer office or what?
No, it's Mr. No,
Yeah.
no, it's just an
Engineer.
engineering firm, and then Mr. Richard Mendel is the consultant that manages the grant. He administers it.
Cause I'm trying to find, you do a lot with community development block grants, I'm trying to find out, is that gonna be located in a lot of work being done and it's being spread out. I'm getting some information from them there on that.
Mr. Bagno?
Have we gotten any word, on the consent decree? I mean, has Vince gotten
No,
anything lately?
not yet. We're
Just
gonna,
curious. Has anyone, I mean, have we applied for,
No, it's too early to apply.
too early? Okay.
It's still too early.
that's what I was just curious to see if we gotten any word. No, I guess no word right now.
We didn't ask for word, it's too early to even ask for
Okay.
word, so.
And how we doing on the projects? I know it's,
We're doing pretty good. We hope to finish all our construction by the end of this year. The way the consent decree is written, you have to wait 12 months after you complete construction to request termination.
oh, okay.
So we hope to be finished by the end of this year. By the end of next year, we can request termination of the order.
I got you. Okay.
okay, Mr. Merrill?
What is that gonna do for, the second half of the street program?
We're getting ready to start it.
That's what I need to
shortly,
know.
this
I've been
fall.
having people calling me and
Oh, no.
asking me that, they think we stopped it and everything.
No, they're getting ready to bid it out
Okay.
shortly.
All
We're
right.
getting ready to start the program.
Cool.
There should be no conflicts with the
Right.
street program and the remaining construction that we have.
Yeah, I know y'all had to break up some streets and stuff to do what y'all had to do too, but
Right.
people asking when we gonna get back on.
The engineers are getting everything ready to bid. It shouldn't be long.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is agenda item 7, and it's a budget amendment. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2014, 2015.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
And second?
Second.
Second. Motion by Mr. Merrill, second by Mr. Bagno, and, Ms. Segura is here. Questions?
Kim, this is pertaining to Parks and Recreation only?
Yes, sir. Only, this is, the removal of the summer camp, both the revenue and the expense side.
Okay, so this year, we didn't have a summer camp.
No, sir.
No.
Okay, but then, we budgeted $50,000
Correct.
of revenue that would come in from
The summer
the
camp.
children. But then, the amendment, it looks like it's different. I mean, is that, the amendment is, it says the salaries and those,
Correct. The salaries and the related payroll benefits
Uh-huh.
are being reduced out of the budget as well.
so nothing's been used,
Not
or
a s-
nothing been accepted even from the 50,000.
No,
So it was in there, we're just taking it out?
right, that's it.
No money exchanged nowhere?
No,
Okay.
we did not get any money, and we did not spend any money
That's what
for
I'm-
the program, so I'm removing, both the revenue side and the expenditure side.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Kim, what
ma'am.
can that money be used
There's no
for?
money.
What money?
The money with the program we didn't have, $50,000.
Well, that money would have come from the participants, so we would have to, get money from some other source in order to,
We
to
didn't
do
get no
something.
So,
There's no leftover money from the tax, and there's no leftover money from the general fund transfer in the park.
Is there a way we could ask our representative to fund the summer program? So you could get a grant or something?
I mean, I
They didn't
think
cut out
you
the
can
program.
always ask.
But the children, they have nothing,
Well, there's
Which
some.
the one in Reston is
Yeah.
running right, but it's by
Some of them
donation.
is over.
Is running very well, with 200 kids, most every day or more, it's running. But I would like to see a program running for both of the park and, children be able to go, like we know every year we're gonna have this, you know where I'm coming from? Not just if somebody volunteer.
Yeah, I don't know
We'll
what the
look into
process
it.
would be for, contacting the legislative group, but, I would think that, that you could always ask. I mean, all they could do is say
Before
no.
they gave us 29,000.
Yeah.
So, I would like to ask it for next year, Is that out of order?
No, it's not out of order.
Could it go on the record that y'all gonna contact
We
Terry Landry?
Yeah, we certainly
Or,
will.
Taylor Barra and Fred Mills? I appreciate that.
Okay.
For money for both of the park to run, cause they got, I wanna say, disabled, not able kids on the other side too. And the children can't walk that far. I appreciate it.
Okay, anyone else? Please vote your machines. Thank you, Mrs. Segura. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is one property for property standards, and looks pretty good.
A revisit, 617 Hopkins Street.
6, 7. Oh,
Huh? Oh,
yes.
the owners are here, okay.
Can,
Oh, wait, that's not the one I have on mine.
can we discuss the
You
bill?
wanna?
That's it.
I thought was
That's
this
it,
vacant
Mayor.
lot.
No, that's it.
Can we discuss the bill?
Okay, yes. Do you
Yeah,
want the property owners behind?
Yeah.
Mr. Landry?
Mister, you're the property owner? Okay, all right. You wanna let them know, you wanna let them know what you're gonna be doing with the building? State your name.
I'm Ethel Francis. I'm the property owner. I don't know what I can do with the property right now. See, I filed, for bankruptcy, and as a, condition, I was turned the property over to the bank. So I haven't heard anything from them about it, and I'm just waiting to hear from them.
Thank you for coming, we appreciate it.
Mhm.
Mr. Rack?
I hate to say that, but the building is a problem. They're selling drugs on the side of it, they hide, and they put benches in the front. They're sitting down, I'm about to ask Jimmy pick up those things or whoever, on Hopkins Street, and they're putting a lot of trash down there. But the drug is being so heavy on the side of that building.
Okay, if you remember the last meeting, we still had the tax sale going on. So I think this is the gentleman that bought it at the tax sale.
My name's Ernest Brown. I actually purchased the property from the tax sale. Since then, we've secured the side door. We've cut the grass to the best of our ability. We actually removed those
Containers. I see.
containers that they were utilizing for benches and that sort of thing. I removed thus far 28 from the time that I received the tax deed to now, which has been about 10 days. And I passed by today, and there was another 8 there. So there's an issue with probably some, either they're getting them from across the street, or I don't know where they're coming from, but they're there. So, but ultimately, what myself and my family are going to do, we're going to secure the property, make sure that it stays clean and that kind of thing, and we're working with Regis Bank to eventually purchase that particular property.
Yeah.
What are your plans for
What I would like to see ultimately is a fruit stand there, something that's not available anywhere in the city, and you know, that's our plan with it later on as we go through the process.
I got a
Mr.
question,
Brown,
too.
Yes.
Go ahead.
you said you moved the seating area?
Yes,
whatever.
ma'am. And also, let me add to that. I added, let me add that I removed 11 bags of trash, 40-gallon bags of trash from that property.
Yeah, so it's coming
It's-
from that store.
Yeah,
Oh.
but
They go
some,
by and they come back and sit
Sure.
because the man do not want them sitting on his property.
Sure.
You got that in order.
Well, yeah.
So what they doing, I didn't know who owned the bill.
Right.
They really, I passed this afternoon, they were putting the cards back.
yeah, yes, ma'am, that is
Yeah,
correct.
this afternoon.
So ultimately, I'm gonna have a conversation, I've since then purchased signs that are no trespassing signs and what's allowed on the property. So that's gonna be posted by the end of this week. And again, as we move forward into the process, ultimately, I would like to have a fruit stand there. I think we have enough liquor stores and those sort of things on that
And
particular street.
if you see fit to fill that hole on the side, because the water stays there and mosquito be on top of it.
Yeah,
I
uh-huh.
appreciate it. And how long gonna be before you do something?
Well,
with
there,
it?
it's a process.
time you need?
It's, well, I actually need at least 6 months just to process for the bank to actually go through the process, because, as she stated, that she is foreclosed on. So there's a process as we,
Jim,
move
if you
forward.
only could give him 90 days and he
Well,
could come back
I'm
and
gonna,
ask
I'm
for
gonna,
extension.
my suggestion is to remove it off the list, to give him time to do what he needs to do, and that at a later date, we can bring it back.
Okay, also
If he's
move.
not,
It's
if he's
okay.
not doing what he says he's gonna do,
Yeah.
then
You gonna
we'll
knock
bring
it
it back on the, to the council.
I got a
Also
question.
move to support Mr. Jimmy.
Second.
I got a
Okay,
question.
motion and a second, and, we still have discussion though.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Swear?
Jimmy, where them crates in that, that's on the sidewalk, public sidewalk?
Yeah.
Not actually, it's
No,
actually on the,
it's actually on the store property.
Well, then, if you have private property, no trespassing. then
Mayor.
Probably Captain Freeman, he's the one to talk, you know, for patrols, when they pass that, they can arrest them.
Mr. Merrill?
Mr. Swear brought up the same thing. I heard you talk about what you was gonna do as far as that, but, you know, you need to get the police department involved in it. Because from my understanding, at one time, when Ms. Jarrett came to our meeting, they was telling us that because of the lawyering that was going on the guy's property, they couldn't just come make them move because the property owner had to be able to say that they had to move.
right,
And the property owner wasn't doing that, so they just
Sure.
couldn't come tell them to move off of the property.
right, right.
But since you're gonna purchase the property, you have the option to be able to do it the way it should be done.
Right. And
You know, if
then-
you're gonna put the signs, you gotta be real about it.
Right, oh, no, I have those signs right now in my truck. If I tell you something, that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
So, ultimately, and I have spoken to a couple of the folks that were sitting out there and, you know, laid out the expectation as we move forward. So, just to see that they adhere to that is gonna be the challenge.
Right.
But, I'm gonna work with them in order to ensure that we get that
Right.
little area clean and, you know, keep the traffic down and that
Right,
kind of thing.
right.
I can't say that I'm gonna police the area, but
Oh,
I'm
no,
gonna
no.
do my best to do that.
And I wanna say it's gonna be a challenge, but the thing about it, you gotta look at it, it's gonna better that area.
Oh, yeah, I
You know,
agree with
but it can't happen if some force don't be done and some people show consideration to wanna make people stop loitering around that area.
I agree. I've spoken to Mr. Lewis, and we've come up with a plan to kind of move that in the right direction.
Right.
So, once he's back from his procedure, then he and I will work together and try to get that particular
Thank you.
property secured.
Mr. Brown, they're
Yes, ma'am.
working from that vacant lot on the side of the building
Yes,
to,
ma'am.
to your building.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where they go. When the police come, I think they go on that vacant lot, Jimmy, next to that building. And when the police leave, they go back with their crate in their hand.
Right, right.
So, I'm glad you're taking over.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor to remove the property. I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Remove it from the demolition list. Motion carries. The next, item is just announcements, and the next city council meeting will be held Tuesday, August the 4th. And I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Merrill. Second by Mr. Begno, and, now we'll have a budget meeting very quickly. Yeah.
Sit down. I like to pick at it.
Okay.
That's in Texas.
Mr. Good's here,
12-hour drive.
and, we have a budget meeting. It shouldn't take that long, I believe.
Sales.
Gonna make some money.
Huh?
Gonna make some money.
Yeah, I gotta leave at 6 in the morning. Huh?
The budget, information was included in your packet. The first schedule that I'm gonna go over is the financial review, all of summary page that I'll go over. This page is for 7 months, for our fiscal year, so we should be at about 58%, both on the revenue side and the expenditure side. There's only 2 areas on the revenue side that are below that 58. One is city court, and that's because we get the revenue like a month after the fact. And so then at the end of the fiscal year, that'll be caught up. We'll have 2 months worth of revenue in October. We have to make sure that we have everything accrued, so that our financial statements are in accordance with the appropriate standards. And then the nonprofit allocations, the majority of that is associated with, well, all of it actually, is from this ESG grant, that passes through the city, which is for the benefit of the homeless shelter. And so we get that money, that money is recognized when we receive it. so that's why it's a little sporadic. So I'm not exactly sure if we'll have, all the way up to the 12,000. It could actually be more than that too through the end of the fiscal year. On the expenditure side, the Cliff Oakland building, function is higher than the 58%, and that's because, we did the termite treatment on the building, sometime earlier this fiscal year, so that was a one-time payment. So it'll level off, as we go through the fiscal year. The insurance, account is a little bit, the insurance function is a little bit higher, and that's because our property insurance is paid all in the month of January. So again, that one will level off as we go through the fiscal year, and by the time we get to the end, we'll be at the, actually, I think our property insurance was below, what we had budgeted, so we should have some savings there. The municipal and, police and fire, civil service function is higher. And it's because there was an advertisement that was run that, we had a small amount budgeted, and the advertisement cost was, more than what we had budgeted. We'll probably have to come back and fix that one. And, too, we're looking at, $2,000 for their total budget for the whole year, so it's not like it's a big department. And then also on the nonprofit allocation side, on the expenditure side, and that's because we get that grant money, and that grant money flows through the city's funds. For the most part, all the other departments, aside from the ones that I just mentioned, they're either above on the revenue side or below on the expenditure side. There's no real areas to address. I know that a lot of the departments are getting towards, we're all getting to the end of our fiscal year. Some of the departments have to move some money, within their functions, but, not anything outside of what they already have budgeted for the total for the year. Any questions on any of the specific funds?
Mr. Doyle?
I got a couple of questions in the department. I can just go to that.
Yeah.
But while you're talking about this, it looks like in the last 8 months, of taxes, the last 6 months, we were in the negative.
The
in
last
collection.
couple of months on our sales
Well,
taxes,
total,
yes.
if you go down, out of 8 months that you reported, it looks like 6 of them are negative.
Right.
Okay, do you know how much dollars does that we less are taking in right now?
Well,
What we projected?
well, what I did, and like I was gonna go through that after, but
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll just do it now, and then if you have some questions, but if y'all all wanna look at the little sales tax summary, basically what this is saying is that for those 8 months, like we're reporting currently an average of a 4% decline. And I used the last 4 months because all of those were negative, so I took those 4 months and I averaged those 4 months. So the average on those 4 months, if you take those amounts and divide it by 4, it comes out to 7.25. So I used that 7% decline, and I figured that for the next 4 months. So if our sales taxes continue to decline by 7% in the last 4 months of our fiscal year, we can expect to have a decline somewhere between 5 and 6%. So what I did on my projections going forward into next year's budget, I'll have to come back and do a budget adjustment, but I'm expecting a 6% decline. I'm estimating a 6% decline on our current fiscal year. Now, I only budgeted a 1.5%. So we have a gap that needs to be made up. So the budget adjustment and I'll probably, like, within the next couple of months, I don't think that I wanna do it like at the very, very end, but I'll probably do it sometime during September. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to balance our budget using prior year fund balance, reserves that have been built up with the sales tax fund. For the most part, what's gonna happen on the garbage, and we've already met with the garbage contractors, so those 2 sales taxes, the garbage contractors have to increase their rebate. So what we paying to them, what we're not bringing in sales tax, they're comping us in the rebate. So we'll have an adjustment on that fund, but there's no offset to fund balance. Well, there will be an offset to fund balance, because we had a little bit of fund balance that had built up from the prior year, so that'll be absorbed for the current year, and then going forward, they're gonna comp it all out, it's all comped out of the rebate.
But that's, kind of stays in that department. I mean,
Correct, in that fund.
So, I mean, the numbers are going back and forth, but
Right.
it doesn't come out of fund balance at all.
Well, it does come out of the city's fund balance, because that fund carried over fund balance from last year, right at about $90,000. So that 90,000 is gonna be subtracted in the current year, and then the rest is coming in from the rebate. So then, the fire tax is reported in general fund. And that's all based on the salary. So and we had already budgeted a deficit. I know that we had a vacant position. And so to the extent that that position hasn't been filled, it'll just be absorbed and washed that way. But that one will also have a decline. And then the big taxes in our sales tax fund, those are gonna be balanced with prior year fund balance. In the 1 cent tax, that was right at about $1 million that was supposed to be left over at the end of fiscal 15. So the budget adjustment that'll be presented will be to reduce that $1 million by the amount that, that we haven't collected.
So you think in September we might be making these adjustments?
Yes,
Okay.
probably like the first meeting in September,
Okay.
which is probably still early because like we'll get the September check and then we still have, it might be the second meeting in September. If I could at least get that September check for August and then we'll still have 2 months after
But
that.
that would get us pretty close to where we probably will end up.
Probably so.
Okay.
But I mean, if you notice, I mean, everywhere they're reporting bigger declines almost than what we have, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you wanted to
Yeah, I had
go through?
a couple of things on the departments, 'cause I know we wasn't going through the departments, but I.
No, you can ask.
You sure?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
On page, I'm going to the book that you itemized.
Budget report? Okay.
Yeah. On page 5,
Okay.
okay, the, first thing is that refund that we budgeted $20,000 and year-to-date it's $52,000.
Okay. What happens with respect to the taxes, a big receivable is set up at the beginning of the tax year. As we collect, the collections go against the receivable account. When checks are issued for the redemptions, they're all coded to this refund account. There's also other adjustments as well, like, if there's an LTC adjustment, it all goes against this refund account. Even though it's current year, if we don't record it against that receivable. Adjust for all that at the end of the year. So what's gonna happen is at the end of the year, this $50,000 is gonna be offset on the receivable side. And you can see, well, it's only about, on the balance sheet, the credit is only about $8,000 in that receivable account, but right now it's a lot more than that. And it could be timing as
Oh.
well.
Okay. And, can I go to the next?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if it's all right. On page 9, it looks like that we're a little higher on the percentage of the, holiday, overtime, holiday days off.
For the fire department?
Yeah.
Correct. What happens, like, in the months of November, you know, at the beginning of our fiscal year, we start in November. So then you have the Thanksgiving holidays, and then you have the Christmas holidays and New Year's holidays, all right back to back. So then there's a lot more of that expense. Like right now, we only probably have, I think, one holiday left, which is gonna be Labor Day. So, you know, we have more expense on the front side as opposed to the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, I just was looking at those things. And on the other thing, on page 14, on, park and recreation revenue, it looks like, they all on like the negative. I saw we made some adjustments on that 50,000 was on the summer program, right?
Right.
What about these other, programs?
Well, like on the swimming,
We saw, you know, I mean, like concession, all that stuff.
concessions are running lower. Those are gonna have to be adjusted. Part of that concession money, was also associated with summer camp. So that'll be reduced out.
You know, almost every department, I mean, talk about the,
With the swimming registration, the public swimming and the
Mhm.
swim team, this financial report is through the month of May. So they didn't open the pool until the very end of May. So a lot of all that summer swimming, revenue is gonna come in the months of June and July. So you should see that in your next report. With respect to like the youth sports,
right.
I think they have volleyball. I think volleyball's next.
So our revenue might not be as bad as it looks right here
Correct,
in the next couple of months.
correct.
Okay.
And I know like on adult sports, like further, like, I think right now they got softball going on, and then they're gonna have flag football that follows up later on in the fall.
I was just concerned because what we projected versus the way it was pretty much off. You know, but so we still have other programs coming up that's gonna help this revenue. Okay. And on page 15, it looks like maybe it's time of the year also, is that we down pretty much, on some revenue on rent versus what we projected.
Well, it's not that far off. It's, right here is showing at 55%, and according to, the 7 months, they should be at about 58%. So it's not, that far off.
Okay, I was just wondering, because, revenue has so much to do with these departments.
Correct.
And if we short there,
Right.
it affects the other end. And it looks like farther down on that, we projected some, like on general liability, $2,000, it was $10,000.
Right, there was a claim that was filed, something associated with the park, so we had to pay the $10,000 deductible. They had only budgeted $2,000. Since this financial report was prepared, a budget adjustment's already been posted to correct that. I mean, like, I have to pay the bill whenever it comes due, and then I'll let them know about it, and they'll move the money to cover it. I mean, it's not anything that we can, we usually budget for that based on prior claims.
Now, when you mentioned the deductible, that's $10,000 for each department, or, so now, if we have a claim somewhere, every claim?
Each claim.
Each claim? Okay. Let me see. On the, on page 17, we had a $71,000 budgeted for engineering fees.
Correct, that is for.
Nothing was used.
That's for a grant. It's a Safe Routes to Schools grant for the Pesson Elementary School, and that has not gotten started yet. And actually, in this year's, in the projections that I've already started to work on, I'm projecting that the project won't start between now and October, and that money's going to be carried forward into next fiscal year's budget.
And so that, the engineering fee, that, we budgeted 15 grand for that department, and we spent about 11,000 already.
Oh,
Does that
that's-
have anything to do with
No.
nothing?
That has, that's something called, I think it's called MS4. Mayor, is that right? That's that, stuff that work that, Bearwood Habits does with stormwater. Is it MS4?
yes, that's it,
It's the stormwater management.
Okay.
That's what that's for.
And the only other one I saw that was pretty much up there in expenses was, in wastewater on page 32. We budgeted 35,000 on overtime, we had 33,000 already.
And some more money has been moved into that line as well to cover that overage.
Now, that money that was brought into that is from, that department, of
From
course,
that
not
department,
from-
correct, yeah, the department heads have the authority according to the charter to move within their own department, their own fund.
Right.
If the adjustment requires an adjustment that would change total revenues or total expenditures, it's gotta come to council.
Okay. And the only other thing, I appreciate the time you're giving me.
Oh, no problem.
Is on page 4, it looks like, we had I missed that when I was going through.
Okay.
Was the security, we almost had our budget, already, for City Hall.
And that's a one-time payment that we make, so we probably won't have any additional expense unless something would happen with the system.
Oh, so it's a system, not the security that we
Right.
use for the,
No,
meeting. Okay.
it's maintenance on the security system for the building.
Okay. I appreciate the time I gave you
No
for that.
problem, no problem. Anybody else have any questions?
Good.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions, y'all feel free to call, concerning any of the information. Just to kinda let y'all know, this will probably be our last meeting, like this meeting. We've already started working on the budget numbers for fiscal 16. And then starting in September, and I've already kinda outlined the calendar, we'll probably, it'll be given to you probably in early September. Maybe in, no, I guess in September, August or September, I'm not exactly sure when. But, we'll start having the fund meetings to discuss, our projections for this year, as well as to adopt next year's budget.
I got a question, Kim.
Yes.
The projections for 16 should be a little bit higher than where we at now
On revenues or on expenditures?
on expenditure.
Well, we have put in increases on health insurance, not knowing what's gonna happen on that. We put in a small increase on retirement, the 2% on the salary side, small increases, on insurance and, that sort of stuff. Not anything, out of the ordinary.
Okay. That's
I'm
basically
sure-
what I was talking about, like the insurances and stuff like that.
Right. I tried to cover, you know, I think I budgeted maybe a 6%, and working on the, you know, the numbers so far. I think I put 6% for group insurance and then 5% on just regular liability, which our liability has kinda gone down in the last
Right.
couple of years. So, hopefully, you know, that'll be a little bit of cushion there too, so.
Okay.
I know our property was actually lower too, so.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank y'all.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.